All right, perfect. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Joshua Boatman, and I'm the Regional Technology Director for the Ohio Valley region. And today, during our Command Regional Training, we're going to be talking about designs. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the designs applet within Command, it is basically the Keller Williams version of Canva. So that's kind of some exciting things there. So if you've ever used Canva, designs will kind of function the same way. A couple things to kind of keep in mind, though. Today's class, we're not really going to delve too deep into just starting over from scratch. We're going to talk about the templates that are available to you within designs to kind of give you an idea of how easy it is to utilize what Keller Williams has already created for you. So that way you can have some consistent branding along the way. So without further ado, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. This is always my favorite part. Sometimes it's my screen and sometimes it's my match.com profile. All right, perfect. If at any point anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself and speak on it. Throw it into the chat as well, and I will do my best to answer it in a very sophisticated, complicated way that makes it seem like that I know the answer but I really don't. All right, so we are in Command. Exciting times here. So we've logged into Command, and the first thing we always kind of talk about in any of my training when we talk about Command, just because I think it's so valuable and so important. If we click the little red KW in the upper left-hand corner, this actually will expand the list of all the applets so we actually see the names of each applet. So today, we are going to jump into designs. I think it's like a little paintbrush on like an easel of some sort. That's what we're going to go with. Perfect. So when you initially come into designs, you are going to see your design screen, right? This is going to be where you can kind of view and filter any and all of the various, oh, this is new. I've never seen this bar before. I wonder what that's about. We're going to see any of the designs you've already created. So I want to kind of quickly point out that we can filter these. So right now you're going to see any of the email designs that I have made, right? Templates that I may have modified. If I want to see the social ones, I click on social. And here you can see all the various social designs that I have started, created, modified, changed, whatever. And then, of course, with print, the same thing, and then with video, right? So this just is used to filter between the different design types that you can create. When we want to create a design, we're going to go in the lower right-hand corner. We're going to click this little plus sign. You do not have to be in email to create an email design or in social to create a social design. This plus sign is going to prompt us to create or pick and choose which design we're going to create. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the email designs. And a couple things to keep in mind with these email designs. These are going to be extremely handy to utilize within Smart Plans. So if you've taken any of my Smart Plan classes, where you have that email step within Smart Plans and you have this choice, right? You can do the plain text email where it's just your basic fonts and colors, no pictures, nothing fancy. And then you can do a designs email. This is where, when we create an email design, this is where we can actually build that out. So we're going to select this. We're going to click next. All right. So now the first thing it's going to show us is the KWRI templates. And then we can also look at my design templates, right? But we're going to stick with the KWRI templates for now. So this is where you are going to be able to browse over 70, there's 72, different templates that KWRI has already created for you, right? So if you wanted to start with a newsletter base, you can click on it, and we can start with this particular newsletter template. If you're looking for a luxury open house marketing, we have a couple different options here, right? If you have a new luxury listing, you have your just listed personalized, right? You can actually select those and start to build those out. Now, we're going to go ahead and let's select one. And let's just say, what's a good one? let's do classic tax day, right? So the one thing to kind of keep in mind with templates within Command, especially for the email designs, some of them actually have information associated with them. And what I mean by that is it already has stuff already filled out, right? It's canned stuff that they've already kind of created the actual basis of the email. Some of them are just templates only, where it's going to have that generic fake Latin that you always see on any website, where it's just that placeholder text. So if we do classic tax day, for instance, and we click next, this is going to bring it up, and you can see we actually have information in here, right? And it even has the coding in here for our first name, last name, you know, all that good stuff, our market center information, right? So we can actually come in here and we could edit this. We could change the verbiage. We can do a bunch of different things in here. We're actually not going to edit a template yet. What I'm going to walk you through, in all honesty, is how easy it is to just build your own email within this. I just kind of wanted to point out that some of these will in fact have information in there, and some of them will just be placeholder text. So we're going to hit the X in the upper right hand corner. We're going to discard these changes. So now we're going to hit the plus sign. We're going to go to email. And instead of using a template, we are going to create a new template in the upper right hand corner. And now this is going to bring us to our blank screen. Right here is our blank email. So a good rule of thumb would be to always make sure we title it the right way. So let's say I want to do something for my shred day. Maybe my market center does a shred day, you know, where they bring in a big shredder and all your clients can kind of come in and bring in any, you know, old documents, you know, any tax return stuff, anything like that, that they just want massively shredded in front of them. So let's just say we do shred day 2021. All right. So now let's talk about our content blocks on the right-hand side. So when we build an email within Designs, these are the 9 blocks that we can work with. We're going to kind of go through each one of these so you kind of have an idea of how it functions. So the first one I always kind of want to jump out with is the legal header. When we left click and we drag on the legal header and we drag this thing over, you're going to see a green line appear. And if you take in the consumer training where we talk about the agent websites, this will look a little bit familiar, right? This green line indicates where below this widget or this content block, for instance, is going to appear. So when I drag this legal header over here, we're going to see that this legal header is going to appear below the green line. And it's just that simple, right? We just plugged in a legal header. It's going to have my agent photo here, my name, and my market center logo. If at any point during this process, as we're building out the email, I want to see what it looks like, that's what this little eye allows you to do. So if I just want to see exactly what this block looks like, I'm going to click the eye. It's going to load a preview for me, and you can just see this is all the email is going to contain. So my picture, my contact info, and my brokerage logo. From this preview, and this will be a handy thing as we kind of start to build things out, we'll go through it. You do have the ability to filter it and see exactly what it looks like on a desktop, a tablet, and a mobile device. You know, a mobile device is just going to be smaller, right? Definitely going to be important as you build out an email to see what it looks like on the mobile device, just because the chances are that's where most people are actually going to read the email. They're probably not going to read it very often on the desktop. So as with all things digital this day and age, I always recommend we build for the mobile first. So we can exit this by hitting the X. So now we have our legal header, right? And for some reason, I don't want that. You know, I can select it and I can delete it, right? There's a little trash can icon. No big deal. So now let's say I want to start within an image. So I'm going to drag this image. And once again, the green text, right? The green line. I'm going to drop this in here. And now I don't actually have a shred day image. I probably should have. So let's just throw this weird, cool image that I have. So we can, when we drag an image in, it's going to pull from your asset library within Designs. You could actually click listing images and we could search for a listing and pull those in, or we could upload images. And I don't have a good shred day image. I need to do that for the next class. So in this case, we're just going to grab this weird looking dude. Look, it's like technology. Look at that. It's like it's a brain, it's like it's numbers and stuff. I mean, nothing screams technology than a bunch of random numbers circling a brain. Anyways, so we plugged in this image, right? We're slowly building out this email, right? If we click preview, we can see what it looks like, right? We can see what it looks like on mobile, right? As we go through the process. We can also do that over here on the left-hand side, but it doesn't work very well, right? There's like this little bug where it doesn't actually scale it properly for mobile. So I kind of ignore those icons for now. And I just always want to go to the true preview, which is here. And that's what your consumer is going to see. Of course, at any given point, if we upload this image and we want to change it, if we click on the content block for the image and we click the little pencil, we can replace it. We can edit the image, right? This will allow us to kind of go through, and if we want to crop maybe just to the brain itself, if we wanted to do that, we could do that. We have some drop downs here that actually give us some defined selection boxes, right? And we can kind of move that around. But I'm going to leave the banner. The alt text you really can kind of disregard. This is generally just utilized in situations where if the image can't load, it's going to say, hey, this is what should be here, kind of what we see here with the agent photo. Generally not that big of a deal. When we talk about images, we can always make the image a link as well. So if this was, say, for instance, an image of a property, we could link the listing photo there. And then if we have a landing page, we could have that link to the landing page for that property. Or we could have it linked to a specific web address, whatever makes the most sense. But we're just going to kind of disregard that for now. And then below that, we have our width and our height. This allows us to actually adjust the size of the image. If I don't want it to be 750 wide by 250 high, right, you can just come in here and you can easily change it. Let's just change it. I don't know. These are probably not going to be in proportion, but I just kind of want to show you how simple that is. Whenever we make any change, we click the back arrow, done. And now we've shrunken that image, right? It's very simple, very easy. You can kind of just edit it, plug in some info, and then you always just want to make sure it doesn't change it live until we hit done. A couple other things to note about an image. We have the center where we can actually center it a little bit. So if we want it off to the left, it can be off to the left. You know, if we want it off to the right, it can be off to the right. But in most cases, when we're building this, we're probably just going to have it centered as well. Pretty simple. So we've added an image. So now let's say we want to add our text blocks. And once again, when we drag it over, we're seeing where this green line is. If I want the text to appear above the image, I want to adjust the design. I can just move it above, and wherever that green line is, this new content block will appear below it. So if I drag it up, drop it there, you can see it shifted my image block down. If I drag it down below it, we can see now we have it on the bottom. Your text block is going to function just as you can imagine any text editor will. When we click on the block, we're going to have the pencil icon, right? As you can see, whenever we click on a block, we're getting two options, right? Pencil or trash can, right? Edit it or delete it. So if we click on the pencil, it's going to take us into our edit screen. And there's a couple things to point out here. We have the ability to select from some default font types, right? We can adjust our font size. So let's say I want this to, you know, please remember shred day is coming. Oh, and I misspelled remember. Thank you, Grammarly. Always making me look smarter than I am, right? We can highlight it. We can bold it. We can put some underlines under it, right? Bold and underline is a huge thing. It draws your attention to it, right? We can adjust the font. I think we can highlight that. Or do we have to type? You know what? I think it only does. I think the font will only go over on the left once we hit done. But we can adjust the size, right? We can justify it, right? So left, center, right, and then full on justification. So that way it stretches it. we can add our bullet points, our indents, direct links. But the one thing to keep in mind here is we do have our merge fields, right? And if we've talked about merge fields before, and smart plans specifically, this is what allows us to personalize that email a little bit. So if we go below it and we can sit there and say, hey, whoop, I don't want to do that. So let's do, hey, we can drop this down and locate our client's first name, right? This could be where you're talking to your client and you're saying, hey, insert name. This is going to be their contact, right? From their contact card. Just wanted to shoot you a quick note that Shred Day 2021 is coming up. Right? Oh, what did I do wrong? Yeah, I get that. Thanks, Grammarly. So you can start to build that out, right? You can include a link to something if you want, all that good stuff. And then once we hit done, it's going to plug it over here for us, right? You can add multiple text blocks, right? You're not limited by just putting all your text within a single block, but we can easily come through here and start to build this out. Using the merge fields is huge, especially if you're planning on this email being a part of a smart plan, which is probably where 90% of you will actually utilize a custom email design. So awesome. So, we've talked about image, we've talked about text. Let's talk about a couple, we've talked about the legal header for sure. Let's talk about some of these other blocks, right? Well, we have our button block. And our button block is, as you can imagine, just a button. This button could be located below an image, could be located as a link to a different page, anything that you can imagine where you want them to click. Common, and we'll talk about this a little bit when we jump into a newsletter. Commonly, this can be linked to where you've created a newsletter and you want to link to an article. You can have a button that says, hey, click here. So if we edit that button, here's the button text. This is what's going to appear on the button, right? If we do click here, here is where we can plug in the link that the button's going to link to. So let's just say I want this to go to, let's just KW.com, right? Here I can adjust the size of the button, right? Standard button size is pretty good. I mean, 120 pixels by 40 pixels is fine, but you can make it bigger or smaller. We can pick the font we want the button to utilize, right? If we want to have some consistency, I think I used the Mirza, I don't know how you say it. Here's where we determine where the button is located, right? Left, center, or right. Simple enough to adjust the background color of the button, right? So a couple things when you're dealing with colors, you have your hex color and then you have your RGB. If you know what the hex color is, you can just copy and paste that in and it should select it for you. Or if you know the RGB, you can do that as well. You can, of course, always cycle through here, grab your little pin dot. Oh, hold on. My apologies here. Didn't like me clicking on that. No, it didn't save it. Hold, please, everyone. We're having some technical difficulties. Old Zoom. All right. 1 second here to recreate this. We will get this show on the road. Typically, this is where I will kind of tell a funny joke. What kind of bee doesn't know what it wants? Anyone? A maybe. Get it? Maybe? No? All right, it's cool. The jokes just get worse, people.
I did laugh. I was just on mute.
That's fine. That's fine. The jokes just get worse.
Same
If I don't get participation, the jokes just get worse. This is
I
a
love them.
all of you. And if it gets really bad, I'll start telling mildly dirty jokes. Just kidding, sort of. Well, good. Thank you, Nicole. I find jokes are the great unifier of people. If you can't laugh, then we can't be friends. All right. So let me try to reshare this screen here now that we've caught back up. Fingers crossed, toes too. Hopefully everyone can see it. We're back. I had to recreate this real quick, my apologies. But in general, we can, or we were doing the button. Let's drop the button back in here. In general, when we're on the button, we can adjust the color. We can select the border type. So this is kind of important as well because you can see it's kind of rounded or it can be square. And if we go to done, now you see like the little rough edges. It's those little tiny tweaks that really doesn't matter, but I mean, it can add a little bit of flair to it, right? If we want to do a bigger rounded button, right? So we can adjust the radius. And now we're actually bringing in and we're making it a little bit smoother. Just to use to link to things outside, right? You can link to images, but you can also link to buttons, and buttons can say, click here. And now what I should have always said, a good rule of thumb, always hit the save button. And then I wouldn't have to recreate it. When building anything, a lot of things, unforeseen things can happen for sure. So I'm a big believer in, as you build something out, nothing wrong with hitting the save button. So you always have it available. So pretty simple. We created a button. If we want to see what it looks like, we can view it. Shred day is coming. Hey, so-and-so, click here, right? You can see what it looks like smaller. Very, very, very important. This is kind of interesting as well. Since we've added in a merge field, if we click that, we can actually view our contact list. And then we can actually see what it looks like in real time utilizing those merge fields. Pretty simple. All right. So now let's start getting into some of these very specific content blocks. We have our listing block. We drag this over, and once again, right, the green, it's going to go below it. One of the things that you're noticing, and I think this is one of the things that I really appreciate with the simplicity of designs, especially when we start talking about the email designs editor, you're just stacking things on top of each other, right? You know, if you go with that mindset that you're just stacking blocks on top of each other, you don't have to worry about putting a block to the left or putting a block to the right, right? You know, we're just stacking things on top. So it limits your design choice a little bit. But sometimes, you know, I'm a big believer in when you have limited choice, you don't get caught up in what the choice is. You can just focus on the content within that. Hopefully that makes sense. But when we drag that over, right, we have our listing block. We click the little pencil. Once again, here we are. We can select from a listing. And I always like to see if I can't find my favorite property in Troy. You think I'd know the name of it. Right. Oh, there it is. 4995 North Orbitson. I love this property because it's probably just a terrible, it's just a small little, not a great property, but then they paid all that money for that twilight photo, which they think this is what's going to sell this property. Got to have that twilight photo. You know, nothing says, come look at this property than an overly photoshopped photo. I'm sorry if you use them, just my opinion, just my opinion. But I just like, look how fake the light looks. It's just insane. So we can select this. And when we select it from the listing, you can see it pre-populated everything for us, right? And of course, we could link this to a landing page. If we've created a landing page for our listing, if we've pulled did a search on our Keller Williams site, our agent site, we could provide that link as well. And then we're just gonna hit done, right? We can drop that in there. We could drop in another button below it if we didn't want this to be clickable. We could sit there and say, learn more now, right? We're just slowly building that out. The other content block that we're going to talk about is the event block. We're just going to continue to add to this thing, right? We're just going to drag it down. And our block is, once again, it's always going to appear below the green line. So now we can scroll down. Now, this is just kind of an interesting thing, right? Because what this isn't like a singular block that you edit and then you kind of change all that information from within one screen. This is actually where they kind of stitch together these several different content blocks just to make something a little bit easier to edit, right? So if we were to do the shred day, right, this could be a perfect example where maybe it's a section of our newsletter where we go through here, we replace the image. I'll just grab and let's just throw this weird image in there. Why not? You know, and we can sit there and say the event title, learn the nuts and bolts of buying your first home. Right. And then here's that default Latin text that everyone always sees whenever any computer programmer, any designer builds anything, they always put this placeholder text that actually doesn't mean anything. It's not actually real Latin. You can, of course, edit the date here, right? Plug in the date and the start time, right? This is just where you can build a quick event section, have your little graphics, so you're not trying to build it piecemeal. And then, of course, if we edit, this is not a button. This is so much more as a link. Functions very similar to a button, but it's just a link, right? And then if we preview it, we can slowly start to see how our email is coming together, right? Pretty cool. And then the last couple ones we'll talk about is the market snap next. So this is going to be, we're going to drag it down. You can kind of see that green line all the way down at the bottom. We let go. Now that allows us to scroll. We can only scroll as far as we have content blocks, right? Keep that in mind. Neighborhood trends, right? This is going to be that neighborhood snapshot, right? Where you can sit there and say, let's say, latest on Troy, Ohio. We can say here, we can type in our zip code. And if we just want it to be the zip code of the area, we're fine. We do not need to select a neighborhood. But if I wanted to target a specific neighborhood, or maybe, you know, I sell a lot within a particular neighborhood and I want that to be a part of my newsletter, or I want to specifically target people that live in that neighborhood or that would be desired to live in that neighborhood, right? They want to live in that neighborhood. I can say latest on Troy, latest on Westbrook, because that's the neighborhood I live in. So I can actually go over here and I can search for Westbrook. Then we can just click done. And it's going to plug in the neighborhood, right? It's going to show us the active stats, the sold stats. Now I want to be clear about this. This is not dynamic when you do this. So this is going to pull information from the moment we actually inserted this content block and we selected the neighborhood. So said another way, if you send this email out, what shows here is static. A week later, if someone opens up this email, they're not going to get new information on the Westbrook neighborhood here located in Troy. They're just going to show this information. This is a one-time push into the email. So this would be a great opportunity where you could drop another button, right? And you can say, click for more on Westbrook, right? It's going to be a little wordy. It's too wordy. So we'll just do click for more. And then, of course, we could have linked this to maybe a specific landing page where we've built about Westbrook, right? To where people can click, and then maybe we actually have our true market snapshot within there from within the consumer app on your Keller Williams agent website, which we talk about in a different class. So you can kind of slowly start to build this out. I just always like to point out static info here. And then last but not least, the last block we'll talk about real quick is our video block. So let's drag it down here. And our video block's pretty basic. So there's a lot of requests that people say, hey, I love to do what BombBomb does. Can I use command to send a video email? The answer is sort of. BombBomb is a pretty slick integration where you basically can just real-time live record yourself And then it creates the email automatically. We're not there within Command. Command doesn't have that capability, but what we can do is drop in a video block, edit it, select our thumbnail. So this is going to be the thumbnail that appears within the email, and then put in our URL for our hosted video. So if we shoot a video and we upload it to our YouTube page, this is going to be the link to our YouTube page, right? To that video. Is it, if we have it on, what is it? Vimeo, I think is what it's called. Vimeo. I always get the video site and the pay site confused. But you can have it and provide that link. If you've uploaded the video to a page on your Keller Williams agent website, which you can absolutely do, you can link to that where they can click on it. And that's just all what BombBomb does, right? Keep in mind that video within BombBomb is not actually within the email. You're just clicking on an image that is then taking you to a different page. So we're just going to plug in this just so it'll let me save it. And what's really cool about this is it's really, I don't want to say it's dumb, but I mean, it's pretty cool that what it does is, dumb's not the right word. I just think it's just so basic, but it works. It puts the a play sign over your thumbnail. So it indicates to the consumer, hey, just click here to play, and then it will link them to the page that actually has the video. Once again, if we preview it, we can kind of sit there and see within a matter of seconds, we've slowly built not a great email, but an email utilizing all of the different content blocks. It's very simple. It's very easy. You're just stacking these blocks on top of each other. And before you know it, you can build a custom newsletter for yourself if you want. You can build, your own just listed if you wanted to do so. A default video email where you can kind of send market updates to everyone and say, hey, here's my video market update. And you record a video ahead of time, link it, and share it out via a smart plan. So we'll go ahead and we'll save and exit. So now you can see I have shred day here. If I want to click on it, I can go back into it and I can start working on it, all that good stuff. Now let's quickly just jump in one of the templates, right? So if we click on email, we click next. And say I want to do a newsletter. So let's do classic B. And here you can see it's already been laid out for you. But it's all that default text. So you can literally come in here. This is an image, edit the image, swap in the image. Click on this, type in your your headline, right? Add in the text, change the text. Here's a link to the article if you're linking to something specifically, right? They didn't do anything fancy here. They just used the content blocks that are already available to us to build it out, right? And for some reason, if you don't want this here, you don't want that there, just delete it. Just that simple. If we jump into a just listed. So let's find us a good just listed. Let's do this luxury marketing. They have it all laid out. This is a little bit more complicated, right? This is a good template, right? They've done some fancier things that we can't do, but just it functions the same way. You know what? We can add in our address, edit this, replace it, listing images, look for my favorite property just because it's awesome. Now it's plugged in there, right? If I don't like the way that it's squished up, we can adjust that, right? I want it to be 550. We'll expand it out a little bit. Plug in the address, edit it, put in our address, right? Type it in, whatever it is. And you can easily go through and edit one of the available email templates to quickly build one for your luxury property. Nothing screams luxury like the Twilight Foot. I stand by that statement. Easily worth an extra $100,000. Pretty simple. So that's the email designs editor. We're going to jump into the social and the print editor because those function a little bit differently. But before I do that, are there any questions about the email design editor? Right? I mean, It's pretty simple, but there, if you have any specific questions, where do we go to watch the recorded sessions? I'm working on that, Debbie. So I'm in the process of uploading them to a YouTube page for the region. And then I'm going to get a link out to all the TLs and the MCAs and the MCTTs and the OPs and the ATLs and the ACLs and the MCLs and all the acronyms. All the acronyms I'm going to send this thing to, so that way they can post it all within their market center. I'm hoping to have everything uploaded by the end of this week. I have to go through and I have to edit out some of the more tongue-in-cheek moments that I say. I got to protect my image, Debbie. I hope you understand. But yeah, beyond that, any questions regarding the email designs editor, or we're just going to jump into the social and the print? Can we add more than one neighborhood? Absolutely. If we're in a particular, actually, let's just jump into Shred Day. Absolutely. You can draw in. You can drop in as many market snaps as you want, right? And each one functions independently. So if I wanted to do 45373, but this time I wanted Sherwood, we can absolutely build that out. And you can have a whole section just about on specific neighborhoods if you want. There's none of these, and that's a great question, Donna. Thank you for bringing it up. None of these really can't be used more than once. In general, you wouldn't want to use the legal header more than once, right? There's no point in that. And actually the one we didn't talk about was the legal footer that you should probably always put at the very bottom, right? I missed that one, so I'm glad we kind of jumped back into it. Always make sure you end your email with the legal footer. If nothing else, it has your info, and then it has that default like, hey, by the way, if you get this email and you're already working with another agent, my bad, I wasn't trying to, to do anything. I was just sharing some information, blah, 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 right? But yeah, generally the legal stuff, you would only use once within an email, but everything else can be used multiple times. All right, perfect. All right, so now let's jump into the social and the print editor. So if we click the little plus sign, and let's start with social, and let's click next. And we're going to give it a few moments. Now, we're going to talk about, this is going to be an interesting thing. Because we started with social, we are just going to have social designs. When we jump into print, we're going to see print design. So I just kind of want to make sure you guys are aware of that. You're not going to see the print designs within the social editor or the social designs within the print editor. So over here on the left-hand side, we have our categories, right? This is where we can start to drill in and see the different social designs that have already been laid out for us, the different templates. So if we just have a just listed, for instance, we can click on just listed. And now we can see the various just listed social templates that have already been built for us. That makes it extremely easy for us to plug in our information, right? And you can kind of dig deeper into all of these, right? So we can see, hey, here's our spring selling season. These can just be specific things that you can just use to promote. But let's just say we're going to do our just listed, right? And let's just show you how easy it is to take one of these existing templates. And even if you take the time to build your own template, how easy it is for you to modify it. So let's say, for instance, I want to use this weird one here, right? This looks like this is for Instagram stories, right? This is what I want to use for Instagram stories. Actually, you know what? Let's switch it up here. Let's do this one. Let's do this one for Facebook. So let's click use. And it is going to take us directly into our editor where we can actually then go through and change some things, right? So here we have our template, right? How hard is it to change these things? Not hard at all, because one of the really cool things that we have within our designs is our integration with the KWLS. And our KWLS is basically the listing service that brings all the different listings from across the country into Command, right? because of our relationships with all the different MLSs, because of the Keller Williams brand, we are pulling in all that listing data. So here, let's try to search for Troy here. Let's see if it'll pull me up. I'm going to look for my North Orbison. We're going to select this. So it's going to give me access to all the photos and even the listing details. So what's really cool about this, if I want to swap out this photo, I select the photo and you're going to notice it draws a little blue border around it and has like these little white dots. If I wanted to adjust the size of it, right, I could easily adjust the size of the photo. But once it's selected, if I go over and I search for my particular property, my listing, for instance, in the KWLS, I locate the photo that I want. I have three options here. I want to do the replace image. I have to select the image first, but then when I click replace image, it plugs it in there, right? If I were to click the plus sign, it's just going to add the image for me to kind of move around and manipulate. You know, it's not replacing anything. It's just going to add the image, right? And if I want to delete something that I accidentally add, once I select it, we have some options up here, right? We're going to remove it. You know, I could sit there and I could add the picture of the barn because that everyone wants to know that there's a barn there. We can just easily drag that in. All right, it's nice. So it's not a barn, it's a shed. You know, it's a barn shed. It's a shed barn. It's a sharn. We'll call it a sharn. Awesome. You heard it here first. Put that in your listing details. It has a sharn. That's exciting. All right. So now we can kind of go through here and we can sit there and say, hey, any of this text we want to change, we can easily change it, right? We just double click on it. We can change it right there within the design itself. Adjust the font size, the opacity, you know, you want to see through it, you know, all your standard changes. But what else can we do, right? Well, if we want to update the address, we can double click on it, right? And we can instantly, I know, groundbreaking. Thank you, Amanda. You heard it here first. I'm going to trademark that. I'm only going to charge you each $1 to use it, but you'll thank me later. So we have our address here, right? We can double click this and we can update the address, or within the KWLS integration, I can come over to listing details. I can locate the property address. And if I have it selected, I'm going to hit the little replace and it just plugs it in there, right? What's really cool about this, now, unfortunately, you can't just do it with the bedrooms and the baths because, you know, this is one text. But you have that information at your fingertips, right? You can sit there and say, oh, you know what? This is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, you know, square footage. Oh, it's 672, right? You can utilize this integration to easily look up the information on your property. And we listed it at, we'll just say 100,000, right? We come over here to the built. Because it's sideways, this is what's really cool. You don't have to like tilt your head and try to write it. It just pops it up in this pop out. Then we can say it was built in 1957. We're going to save those changes. And of course, our DBA up here, we can easily swap that out. Oop, I clicked the wrong one. Whoops. We can swap it. I don't like that. I want to move it up. Oh. But you know what? I have that, so I should be able to arrange and send that to the bottom, right? So here's a cool thing, right? These are layers, right? So here I put my DBA, but you know what? It has some white here and it's covering up my photo. I can click on this. I go to the arrange option and it's going to say, hey, what's your layer order? Do you want this to be at the very top, backwards once, send it immediately to the top? Do you want to move it up 1, down 1, to the top, or to the bottom? If I send it all the way to the bottom, should be below it. And now this photo is above the white, right? And before you know it, here we have it. I have just created and updated a just listed social media, right? So the value of this, when we really get serious and we talk about this, is that think where this can be huge for you. If you take the time and you integrate your listings into a template, or you build your own template with your own color scheme, your own design, your own brand, you can easily create and update your social media post for all your new listings and all your sold properties, right? And what's amazing about this, part of posting your listings, your successes, I just listed this, hey, I just sold this, I just did this. Part of doing that on social media has less to do with letting people know, hey, here is an actual property that's listed, right? People generally aren't looking on the internet, on Facebook. They're not on your page to see, oh, that's a cool just listed property. I want to go see that. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but they're using KW.com for that. They're using Realtor.com for that. They're using Zillow for that. Hate to even say it. But posting stuff on social media is all about making sure you have a consistent brand and building your brand. It's about people being able to look at that image and recognize that as your listing, not necessarily what the listing is. What's really cool about these, if you take the time, and if you've, tomorrow we'll talk about it within campaigns. When you do a Facebook campaign, instead of just using the listing photo for your Facebook campaign, you can use this design image to make that ad pop just a little bit. And then we can just hit done in the upper right-hand corner. And then at any given point, I can jump to social. It's going to load here for a second. It's spinning, it's thinking about something. These are those moments when I see stuff spinning, it makes me think, should I go on Sharn? Or should I have done like the head? A barn shed is, I think Sharn just works better, right? Let's see if we can refresh this and get past this. It's she shed. Don't bring, what is that, State Farm into this or whatever it is, Liberty Mutual, the she shed. It's a funny commercial. It's a funny commercial. So if we come over here to social, we can kind of see here is our template, and at any given point, we can make a copy of it. If we want to duplicate it to create a new one, we can rename it. We can just click on it to go back into it, to edit it, to make the changes we need for our next listing, right? Just thinking about it. Something must be going on with designs. Let's see. Let's hopefully what's going on here. Don't do this to me, command. I promise I've been super nice. All right. Let's try refreshing this one more time. But that's the down and dirty of the actual social media, right? Once you go in here, you can create, like, here are some ones that I've created. Let's see if it'll let me open up. Ones that I created. Oh, cool. It's going to let me open up. So one of the things that I've done for some, and we'll talk about it tomorrow in the campaigns class, where we can advertise a simple basic image, right? To see all the latest open houses somewhere, right? Doesn't take much. You start a new system, you can go to drawings, you can drop in squares, right? It functions very similar to Canva for those of you who've used it. You have access to icons over on the left-hand side, where if there's certain ones you want to draw in, like, let's draw some fishes in here, man. That is legit. And like, let's put a little shark here, little swordfish. There we go. I will tell you right now, if I was a realtor, this is exactly what I would do, because everyone would know this is my property. I probably would never get any listings, but people would be like, I don't know what's up with the fish. What's up with the fish, Josh? Oh, and we can even come in here, we can even change the colors, right? It's a yellow fish. This is just a brief overview of what you can do within designs. The biggest point of this class is to show you the templates, right? To show you how easy it is to go in there and update what we've already built for you. But also then to get you to that point where if you want, you can come in here and you can add and build your own custom template. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I try to be entertaining as best I can. And you know what? I take offense to that, Liz. I found this house specifically on the internet and stole it fair and square. If everyone else is using it, I'm really upset with them and I need you to report it to me immediately, because that's just, I stole this first. But in all seriousness, we can kind of sit there And it's just a real simple process. So now let's not save this. We're loading your workspace. All right, so let's close out of this and now let's talk about print. We have about 10-ish minutes left. Print's going to function very similar, but I kind of want to just quickly point it out to you. We click our little plus sign. We're going to jump into the print editor. We're going to click next. All right, look at all these options. It's almost overwhelming. You have your door hangers, you have your bifolds, you have your trifolds, you have your bifolds A3, your postcards A6, your flyers A4, your bifolds. Man, it's a lot of folding. Man, real estate's hard. But so we can sit there and we kind of drill through this the same way. We have our listings, right? And these are going to be all print, all things for print purposes. You know, for buyers, right? We can do our listing presentation. This is a huge thing. We have different situations here, different listing presentations that we can use. Now, obviously, so what I have mine set up is so I can see what like the international Keller Williams agents can see. That's why we have the A4 option. But for us over here in America, we talk about the letter. We have the letter size, right? This is what we all print on letter. That's what we do. We don't know what this A4 nonsense is. It's in millimeters. What is that about? We talk about in inches here. Metric system. Shh. We're the standard system. I don't know why we don't use the metric system, honestly. It's so much easier, my opinion. But we can sit there and we can jump into a listing presentation, right? Let's say we want to modify this. All right, so let's talk about how this works. So the first thing on the left-hand side are going to be the various pages of the listing presentation. One of the things to keep in mind, you have to add these individual pages to build out what you want your listing presentation to be. So if we come down here at the bottom, you're going to see this pages option, right? If we drop this up, you're going to see there are no pages, right? So if we come over here to the left, we're going to hit this little plus sign. Now we're starting to build it, right? I don't know why it always has this weird one. It's weird. So I just always delete it. So now we have the first page of our listing presentation. We can click on it and it functions just like we did within the social media designs editor, right? Anything we click on, if it's an image, we can locate the image and we can replace it. We can double click on any of the text and change it, right? We come back to templates when we want to go to our next page. We can add our instructions, right? So here it tells us like, hey, this is actually telling you what to do. Carefully read. The sections with numbers such as units sold or closed are included. Feel free to choose your best value story. These are just your instructions, right? This is for you to know like what to do. Don't include instructions within your actual listing template. This is for you, for your listing presentation. This is just for you. If we want to get rid of a page, it's pretty simple. We come down to the pages section. We locate the page we want to get rid of. We drop this thing down and we can either add another page. We could duplicate this existing page or delete it. You know, so now let's go to this next one. Let's add, what do we got here? What are we working with? Oh, so this is for your clients, right? This is where you can come in and you can plug in your client's name. You know, we'll do, oh man, I should have a funny name. I've drawn blank. I've gone blank, people. I don't have a funny name right now. Give me 2 funny names. Participation from the class. I never asked for it. 2 funny names. Go. No one? Come on, people. Be on top of it. No. Let's say we're just do Joe and Kim, right? Bart Simpson. You know what? Bart's a good one. You know, we'll do Bart and Lisa. Why are they living together? I don't know, man. I don't know. Simpsons are weird breed. Maybe they're Simpson. All right, perfect. right? We go through and we can just start to edit this, change, swap out your DBA, just like the way we did it before. Highlight the image, drag it in there. Oop, I keep clicking the wrong one. Replace it, right? Let's shrink this down so we can see it. We can come in here and we can swap my ugly mug in here, right? Plug in my info. You have to go through and edit this thing, right? We're building this, but the cool thing is, if you build this once and you make sure your logo's in here and you make sure your information's in here and everything that is pertinent to you, you're only going to have to do that once. And then per listing presentation, you're just going to come in and just change the things that you need to change. You know, let's add this in here. Let's see what this is about. Barton Hills, right? This is where we can sit there and we can come in and we can make some changes about a specific neighborhood, right? Where we can go and we can pull that information and modify it and change it, all that good stuff. And then at any given point, we can just say, we can save it. Here's a good thing I should always tell you, I forget to always mention this. Up at the top here is where we can say my listing pres. Then we can hit done. Now, if we are in our print, we're going to see where it is. If we want to download it, we can absolutely do that as well. And depending on how we're downloading it, are we downloading it as a PDF? Are we downloading it as a PNG, a JPEG, whatever makes the most sense. But the one other thing that I want to point out, and actually, I don't want to point it out with the listing presentation. I want to point it out with the magazine. So for those of you who don't know, we have this quarterly magazine that the awesome people at the KWRI marketing department have put together. Over here on the left-hand side, if we go to lead generation, it's called our personally branded zine. I like that zine, right? It's not a magazine, it's zine. I feel so millennial right now saying, oh man, it's a zine. I got a zine, yo. All right, we're gonna click on this. They don't have the new one out yet. We're expecting that to hopefully hit in May. That's going to be more spring focused. This is still kind of winter. But if we use this, functions the same way as building out our listing presentation, right? We're going to have all of our pages. We go through, we can add, right? We're building this bad boy out, selecting what we want. What's really cool about this is there are going to be certain pages in here where they've created articles for you. So let's just add a couple quick things here. All right, so if we jump up to pages, it always adds this weird spinning one. Let's get rid of that. All right, so like for instance, here is page 1 of the article, right? We just went to pages. When you're in the magazine, some of this you cannot edit. You cannot actually edit the content, right? You cannot edit this. They don't want you changing the words within their articles, but within these articles, they have these little sections you can edit where you can put in, hey, insert your local light store or preferred home improvement store, address, URL, blah, 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 where you can actually advertise different vendors within your magazine. You know, one of the cool things, one of the value adds with this, especially as you kind of go through this, you want to go through this magazine with a fine-tooth comb. If you were to print this magazine, you know, right, you were to send this off to a print shop and have it printed, and you wanted to include vendors in here, maybe you could actually have your vendors pay for some of the cost, right? If they're going to be included in this magazine that you're going to hand out to your clients, maybe you can charge for some ad space, something to think about. But if you don't want to do the printing stuff, you're like, man, I'm not printing things, Josh. You know, we got to save the trees. I like breathing oxygen, man. You're out here trying to kill the world. I'm not trying to do that. Let's save this as magazine. One of the really cool things that a lot of people don't know, and you can do this with your listing presentation, but I wanted to point it out with the magazine as well, is the share button up here. If we go, and I believe if we do the project, right? We're not going to talk about the designs, sharing the designs, that just honestly doesn't work. But we're going to talk about the project. We have this link. And if you copy this link, right? And you share this via a smart plan, maybe include this within an email you build within the designs, whatever makes the most sense. If you view this, and you send this to your clients and they click on it, it's going to load that magazine into the WeBrand viewer where they can page through it digitally. So if you don't want to go through the trouble of printing it out, all that different stuff, but you want to go through and you make changes to the magazine, include the articles you want to include, plug in your information that makes the most sense, right? A note from you, change all of that so it has your awesome picture in there. What a beautiful smile. I got a crooked smile, it's terrible. But you can go through and change all that. You can share this easily to your client base and they can pull it up and they can kind of page through it. I think that's just a really cool thing. Here they can download it, they can print it, they can toggle full screen, all that good stuff. But just want to point that out again, from within a design, right? Especially the print designs that have multiple pages, share, and then project and copy it. Absolutely. Absolutely, Liz, it would, because this is just a link. So if you were to copy this and you were to paste this to your Facebook, you know, I would probably, you know, create a Facebook post that says, hey, everybody, check out my digital magazine for some great information, and, you know, and paste that link. Absolutely. They would click on the link and it will just take them to this website, and then they can just scroll through the pages. Great question. One of the things, though, that I would highly recommend, and we're a minute over, so I'll kind of leave you with this and we'll take some last minute questions. If you're ever going to use the magazine, if you're utilizing any of our pre-canned content that you can find within Keller Williams, read it, read the articles, right? Reference the articles, right? Make sure that if you're advertising this magazine and you're using it, make sure you've actually took the time to read the articles, know what it says. So that way, if nothing else, if a client calls and says, man, that was a really great article in that magazine, you know what they're talking about, right? You know, I liken it to like this, man. You know, it's like going out on a first date. Read the Bumble profile before the date when you're sitting in the car, right? Make sure you're caught up on what she's talking about, right? Do you get notified when the new content is available? The answer is, yes, you should more than likely, and I think they did this with the initial push of the magazine. When the new one is out, you're probably going to get some mass email from KWRI, right? That's going to say, hey, here is the new stuff, right? If not, I generally do update Market Center leadership when I'm given word of things like that. So hopefully we're going to see the trickle down effect, right? Reaganomics, trickle down effect. I pass the information on to the market centers and hopefully they trickle it down to y'all. Very, very cool. Very, very simple. I know we went through the print designs a little bit quick, but if you notice, it functions mostly like the social. The only big difference is, you know, you're going to just see social designs within the social editor and print designs within the print. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pull it open and I'm going to ask my standard question. Any questions, concerns, criticisms, compliments?
No, it was very good. I think I just need to go in and use it more often.
100%. I think that is, and thanks for the comment, Donna, because I think that is a lesson we all can kind of take away from this. That command by in and of itself, it is easy. You know, you just have to be in it, man. You know, you just have to be in it every day and just get in there and play around with it a little bit, right? Just don't use it for your compliance and getting paid, because you're going to get left behind as there have been updates and changes. Debbie asks, is there a total blank? Yep, there absolutely is. You can start with a brand new template as well. And then you can just design and build your own thing to your heart's content. And I think that's a beautiful thing. If you take the time to do it, build that custom design for your own custom brand. You're welcome, Kevin. I try to make it as fun as I can, Marcy. Just tell your friends. And if I say anything that offends anyone, know that it comes from a jester's heart. Command is my drunk monkey. Thank you for making, oh, I like that. My drunk monkey. I might steal that from you, Liz. Command's a drunk monkey. I think that's hilarious. Well, perfect. If there are no other questions, once again, we're recording this, so I'll try to get this up by the end of the week and get all these links to everyone. If you want to put yourself through that misery, If you have any questions, definitely reach out to your MCTT, your MCA, your TL, your market center leadership is there for you. That is our goal within a market center to help you. And beyond that, if you want to talk to me for some unforeseen reason, please feel free to reach out and I will do my best to assist. Hope to see you all tomorrow on the campaigns class. Take care.